Fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. We're gonna do a video one today. It's gonna be a little bit choppy maybe, but the solo pod is here and I'm trying to do more of these since it seems to be pretty light. I also like kind of getting my thoughts out pretty unfiltered. I can edit, of course, but I tend not to. And we have a pretty big week for ATP tennis, I would say. It was first Masters of the clay court season, some amazing matches. A lot of three-setters. There was no really easy wins, except one that stood out big time, and it was Alex de Minaur winning 6-love against Dimitrov. Not sure what happened, if he was tight, if he was injured, if it was a little bit of everything. Dimitrov is very well liked in Monte Carlo, so maybe some nerves, maybe some feelings there. Also, de Minaur played amazing. It just took everything early pretty much for a clay court. That was pretty impressive and very aggressive and gave Dimitrov nothing to work with. I think there was Dimitrov won 15 points in the whole match. So that was a pretty one-sided affair. Otherwise, lots of tough matches. I'm happy I got Fokina, my prediction. That went quite far. I thought Tsitsipas would reach the final, lost to Inform Musetti, and no shame in that. Musetti, a player I like to watch a lot, and he played really well as well. Final tough one against Carlitos, long match, also choppy with the wins. In the end, it looked like he was a little bit injured and he got the trainer out, and the last set was 6-love to Alcaraz. So Carlitos is back to winning ways, and this clay court season might be tough for everyone else. And guys like Djokovic, how much does he have left in the tank? He lost first round he played to Tabilo. I mean, Tabilo is a good player. He has now a head-to-head of 2-0 on Djokovic, but this is not a great sign for the Serb GOAT, because the motivation seems maybe to be lacking a little bit. Maybe when we get to French Open, he's ready, he's hungry. He usually plays better in Rome than he does in Monte Carlo, so maybe no super sign for alarm yet, but not a great start to the clay court season for Novak Djokovic. Tsitsipas playing well at home in Monte Carlo. The racket suits him well, gets a nice kick, played some really impressive demolition jobs there. Arthur Fils, very, very strong player, dangerous for everyone. Got really close to defeating Alcaraz. In the end, couldn't get quite across the finish line. Huge forehand, bigger than Carlitos' forehand, as the stats show at least. Big RPMs, big speed, very tough to deal with this guy. He's going to be a threat on the red dirt this season. In other news, Federer starts training again. I think that was pretty exciting for us Fed fans to see him back, ready to hit, ready to do exhibitions. I mean, he's not going back on tour, but he's missing to hit the tennis ball. And we miss him a lot as well. At least I do, and I think many of you do as well. And it will be nice to see him back doing some exhibitions, training, being more around tennis, because he's been a little bit absent. I mean, we know he is very much involved in Wilson with his RF line and with the tennis shoes, the Roger Pros. But we want him on the court as well. So it will be exciting to watch him get going with some training and to see him on the court again. So I published some string tensions from Monte Carlo for members, but we can also look at them here. Members get exclusive content every week. So I really appreciate you who become a member on patreon.com/tennisnerd or via YouTube. So you will get exclusive content, a little bit more personal stuff, but also first thoughts about rackets, strings, and a lot more. So thanks to all of you patrons and members out there. You mean a lot. So I did a video about the string tensions in Monte Carlo, and there was nothing really shocking there. A few interesting observations we can look at here on the sheet. And we have the rackets as well. I made it a little bit tidier. It was from a system, so it was a little bit scrambled, not easy to make out. Maybe not everything is 100% perfect, but you have some ideas here. We did not have Alcaraz or Djokovic in the sheet because they have their own stringers and not from the official Technifiber stringer. So shout out to Technifiber for doing the official stringing service. Some really nice guys there among the stringers. I did a video where I talked to them, interviewed them about stringing for the pro players. You should check that out if you haven't before. It's always fascinating to hear from the stringer's perspective. And in this list, you have the racket, you have the string, and you have the tension. Looking at tensions, they are slowly going down, creeping down a little bit, but still around, I would say, averaging around 23, 24 kilos. That's 53, 51 pounds. So usually around there, but then some players are stringing lower. Hans Tiafoe with the 42 pounds. It's a pretty low tension, 19 kilos. And there are a few strings around there, but there's also a bunch around the 53 pound mark. And nothing shocking there. And if you have a guy like Cerundolo who's playing an interesting string, Kirschbaum Max Power and Natural Gut in his PT57A, that's a 95 score range, 16-19 racket, then to see tensions around 47 and 49 pounds is not that shocking, really. But the big hitters, they're around like the 53, 55 pound mark. Alcaraz usually 55. You can see Casper Ruud, he has a really powerful racket, the DR100 Plus, and this hybrid of Polytour Spin and Polytour Pro. So he uses 56, 54. Obviously, these string tensions might differ depending on the conditions, depending on how they're feeling. You saw, for example, Medvedev try quite different tensions, starting really high, going quite low, and maybe settling somewhere in the middle, 22.5 to 20.5 kilos. So there's a lot of experimentation going on. I think tennis is really a game about adjusting. You have to adjust to conditions. You have to adjust to your opponent, how you're feeling on the day, weather, everything. So it's a game of constantly adjusting, and that is sometimes very difficult. It depends on your personality, on your game style, and so on. But adjusting is quite difficult, and something some players struggle more with than others. If you remember Rafa, he always played pretty much the same string tension and didn't adjust much. He just focused on his game. That's one philosophy. And then there are some players who are a little more sensitive, and they're definitely testing a lot more, you know. So the Italians, a lot of them are using like radicals, you know. We have Cobolli, Bellucci, Arnaldi. They're all radical players. Arnaldi left two rackets with the stringer, one 22, 21 kilos, one 22.5, 21.5. Kind of a typical difference in tension if they're not sure exactly where the conditions are. I mean, obviously you want to try maybe 1 kilo, half a kilo difference. He uses Hawk 130, the mains, that's the head string, and Hawk 125 in the crosses. And I'm seeing some different gauges in the mains and crosses. I haven't really tried that so much myself. In the past, a little bit when it's natural gut, I usually go thicker gut because it wears out faster. But I find that interesting that they try different gauges. Obviously, you can play around with gauges as well, and something we sometimes forget. Richard Gasquet plays with his old extended Instinct from the liquid metal generation. 23-22, so 23 kilo mains, 22 kilo crosses for Big Banger Original, which is a string that is needs to be strung at semi-high according to my tests in the past. But it's a good string. Cobolli, who won his first ATP title last week, uses 26 kilos, so that's 57 pounds. Firestorm Signum Pro. So two guys, both Italians, use this string on the top level. That's Berrettini and Cobolli. Berrettini strings is 23 and Cobolli 26 in his radical. I'm not exactly sure what radical it is. We have Luca Nardi, got another Italian. His VCore 98, very standard tension for pros. This would be my prediction on many pros using you know, if they have a silver string, I would say, oh, it's probably 24-23, so that's 53-51. That's the tension I've used myself quite a lot. All the power 125. Still a semi-stiff setup depending on the racket. All the power, pretty stiff string. You go up to 24 kilos, yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of a boardy sensation, but it has some give to it. So it's that's the magic of the all the power. To Phil's RPM Blast 130 gauge, 24-22. So that's 53 and 49. Quite a large gap with 2 kilos in between the strings. Getting extra movement there probably. Bautista Agut, that's another Big Banger Original user. I thought he was using full bed Big Banger Original, but he's using 130 Original in the mains at 21.5 kilos, and this is in his extended 6195, the Pro Staff 6195, and all the power 125 in the crosses. So same tension, different strings, different gauges. Very interesting, quite surprising in some of these. Leheshka, he's a Pro Staff 6195, 1820 user, all the power 130 full bed, 23.5 mains and 21.5 crosses. We have Deminar with his Steam 99 with a 1619 instead of the 1618, using 43 pounds of natural gut mains, 125, and 4G rough at the same tension, 125. So 43 pounds on both strings, that's 19 kilos. Altmaier, really beautiful one-handed backhand, 24.5, 23.5. Big Banger original 130 and Olu Power 125. Another one with this combo. So Batista Agut and Altmaier, they're playing the same string combo. Big Banger original and Olu Power. Quite interesting. Something I have to try. Medvedev, full bed of Racer Soft. 19.5 and 17.5 kilos. But he's strung a lot of different rackets. I found out that he's strung some rackets 26, 25, and then he went down to 22.5, 20.5, and then 19.5, 17.5. So that's 43 and 38 pounds. Insanely large differences there on his type of string tension. So he's definitely in experimentation mode. Musetti, Hawk-Ruff, Lynx Tor. Interesting combo. Zverev, yeah, still with Hawk Touch and VS Gut. It looks like he's back to his old Gravity Pro. Did not help though. Got a rough draw against Berrettini, so nothing to say really about that. It's a tough match. 21.4, 22.4. He's still one of the few players who strings with the Hectos. Draper impressed against Giron. Beat him easily. Olu Power 130. He had strung several different rackets, around 24 kilos or 24.5. Rublev has not switched strings yet. He is stringing 26 kilos and 25 kilos, so 57, 55, right? And Adrenaline 130. Quite a rare string, Luxlong Adrenaline. Mahach, VCore 100, 22, 21 with Politor Fire 125. Another Politor player, but Politor Strike 125 is Echeverry, 42 pounds, quite low. Poprin uses 4G 130 at 26 kilos. Yeesh, that's an arm breaker. But this guy hits big, you know. Tabilo, more like Casper Ruud in his setup. Politor Pro 125 and Politor Spin 120, both at 50 pounds, 22.5 kilos. Holger Rune, nothing shocking there. RPM Blast 130 at 24 kilos or 53 pounds. Bellucci creates a lot of power with his Radical because he strings all the power 125 at 25.5 and 24.5 kilos. Pedro Martinez, all the power, full bed, 125. He uses it at 22.5 and 21.5 kilos. Berrettini Firestorm, as I said, Signum Pro string is 23 kilos. And Lajovic, all the power, full bed, 24.5 and 23.5 kilos. You have that list. I will publish a post somewhere with it so you can check it out. For specifications of these rackets, I don't have everything, but there's a lot of info on tennisnerd.net. You just search for the player name, and there will be a racket post, player profile post, which we try to update regularly. Big thanks to Steph, who's updating the website, and you can check that out so you get an idea. And if there's anything I need to update there, because it's been around for a long time, as you might know, Tennis Nerd has been around for a while, then give me a shout, and we'll try our best to update it pronto. All right, so there you have some tensions, nothing super shocking. So Monte Carlo, big kudos and congrats to Carlos Alcaraz. That's his 6th Masters title, I think, which is pretty impressive at his very young age. And he's definitely back in good action and moving up the rankings. I think he's in spot number 2 now. He was there for Zverev's taking, but Zverev has dropped off in his form quite a bit, struggling to string together wins. I think he was back to his Gravity Pro in this tournament. So I did mention in the previous solo pod that it might not be a racket thing, and sometimes the racket is kind of a sign of your mental state. So if you're switching specs and tensions and all these kind of thing, it's a sign that you're not mentally confident and you're looking for something that's kind of, you know, outside what you really should be focusing on and controlling, which is your game. And that's sometimes tricky. So sometimes the racket can work as a placebo effect or help you. I mean, sometimes it actually makes a difference. You might have seen Tsitsipas getting a lot more spin and pop on his shots. However, you know, you're gonna miss more, so it's a little bit of a balancing act, and to see whether how it works against different players on different surfaces in your different moods and so on. So the racket is can be a sign that something is going well, or it's not going so well. But they're always searching. I think most pros now these days are searching for something. They're looking for more pop, more spin, more control, and they're a lot more open to changing their racket specs, their strings, tension, and whatnot. So that's more interesting for some racket nerds and guys like me, who work with this stuff. Okay, next week, what do we have? We have 2,500 on the ATP. Barcelona, we have Alcaraz back in action. Would be his third title if he wins, but that's a big ask, of course. He has played a lot of tennis this week. He had to fight hard in some matches. I think mentally this was a very strong performance from Carlitos. He played really well at times, but also had big dips, and then he managed to fight back. So he's a guy that kind of ebbs and flows a lot in his game, and we will see how much the tennis took out of him for this next week. He's joined by Casper Ruud, that's the defending champion, and we have Tsitsipas and Deminar, Rublev, and Fils as some of the seeds and some of those players that look pretty much in form in Monte Carlo. So Barcelona is an iconic tournament. We also have Munich, the BMW Open by Bitpanda. Alexander Zverev is the top seed. Can he get back to winning ways? He usually likes to play at home, so we will see. And we have Jakub Mensik, Miami champion. We'll see if he can do well on the clay. It doesn't strike me as his most natural surface. Ben Shelton joins as well, and Ogier Aliassime. But we have the defending champion being Jan-Lennard Struff. So we'll see. I mean, Struff plays well on clay and grass, not so much on hard courts from what I've seen historically. But it will be a fascinating week of ATP action. Let me know your predictions. I think Alcaraz can actually repeat and win another title, which is not maybe a shocking prediction, but he should be a little bit tired. I also believe in Tsitsipas this clay court season. He looked pretty good in Monte Carlo, lost to Musetti, as I said, and that's not a big deal. And for Munich, maybe it's time for Zverev to come back to winning ways. I would predict that he might win. We also have on the WTA Tour, we have Stuttgart. That's a very, very packed draw. It's a big tournament, indoor clay, strong draw. All the top players pretty much are playing. Sabalenka, Świątek, Korygov, they're all pretty much there. It's going to be a strong one, and quite fascinating to watch that on the WTA Tour. We'll see, clay courts usually favor Świątek, but indoor makes it a little bit different. It's definitely a little bit faster, so it's going to be fascinating to see who's going to win that. We will put some predictions up on tennisnerd.net, always predictions. We try to keep the predictions up to date there. It's kind of fun to try to predict and see if you can beat the odds. It's just a little bit of a fun challenge. So keep your eyes peeled on updates there on tennisnerd.net. So that's going on the WTA Tour. There's obviously loads and loads of other tournaments as well, but those are the big ones, the Munich, Barcelona on the ATP, and Stuttgart, where the world's top 4 players lead the packed field. So lots of tennis action this week. Tennis never stops, as we say, and the clay court season just started, so it's pretty exciting times. We have some podcasts coming up also. An interview I did with Conor Niland, ATP 129, and a guy who played against Novak Djokovic at the Australian Open and won challengers and so on. He wrote a fascinating book called The Racket about his life on the Pro Tour. So I had him on the podcast, and gonna publish that later this week. And I really enjoyed talking to him, and the book was great. It's a fascinating read. I really enjoyed getting an insight into life on the ATP Futures and Challenger Tour, because I mean, Conor, he went from college, American college tennis, and to really traveling around on the Futures Tour, where it's kind of a rough life in a way, unless you have a good sponsor or rich parents maybe, and he had to struggle a lot. And but he also got to train with the Williams sister as a younger guy, and he really got as close to the spotlight as you can, like practicing with Murray and these amazing players. So really nice and detailed insight with all the ups and downs of being a professional athlete called The Racket. So can really recommend it, and a podcast to be out later this week with Conor, and check his book out, The Racket. There will be a post on tennisnerd.net where you get all the links and that stuff. So usual, on tennisnerd.net you have all the latest deals. There will be string reviews coming up, the Tourline strings, Solinko, the Mac 10 string. Generally all these are a little bit softer strings, so I think work for many amateur players. I really like most of them. Softer strings is not for everyone. It's not for every tension and every racket. You kind of have to dial in the racket and the string. But these are overall quite arm-friendly strings, and should be considered if you're a little bit worried about stiffer polyester. I'm also getting an interesting racket to test, the 03 Phantom from Prince. The specs look amazing on paper. We will see how it plays. As you might know, the O-ports are kind of fascinating in the way that they really accentuate string movements. So the strings will move a lot. It's always interesting to string the 03 rackets, but they kind of create this nice comfort and feel from the racket, you know, because of the string movement. So really keen to try this one. We'll also revisit some other older frames. So there's some testing going on. Also preparing to play some ITF Seniors, ITF Masters tournaments later in the month. So I need to get my own game together, and that's never easy when you're playing with 15 different rackets every week, but I will try to focus on one for a bit, and then we see where we end up. But string reviews, some racket stuff, lots more to come your way, and also some mental tennis stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of things brewing in the Tennis Nerd Lab, which is fun, and I hope you enjoy the content to come up. That's it for this solo weekly pod. Have a nice day, and don't forget to play some tennis.